Hi everyone, my name is Alberto Lavin. I'm a doctoral student at Instituto de Empresa in Madrid and researching on boardroom decision making during this crisis, and this is part of my dissertation project.
Hi everybody, I'm Carmelo Mazza. I'm Professor of Organizational Theory at Instituto de Empresa, and I'm the supervisor of Alberto Lavin for his dissertation.
And we're going to present the paper, The Crisis on Board, the Effect of Economic Slowdown on Board Decision Making Processes.
Okay, Alberto, why did we choose this research question for the paper? Why it was important?
Well, boardroom is the last resource decision making for organizational governance, and in fact, it has not been sufficiently researched, probably due to significant access limitation. As Professor Westphal calls it, this boardroom is the black box. So the question of how both work and which both characteristics and processes facilitate some positive impact on firm level performance is a very important question, extensively researched in the corporate boards of directors scholarship. And this is particularly important in light of crisis because, some recent literature suggests that causality behind current crisis situation may be partially traced down to obsession with shareholder value, but also with unparalleled recipes for risk management. For instance, equity holding for executives and another piece which is independent boards.
So we are somehow assuming that it is not so clear that boards has a positive impact in the solution of the crisis.
Well, this is part of what we're trying to find out, in fact. So, because what we're trying to find out is if decisions are made in a different way during crisis, and if they are, in which dimensions, and we also want to learn if the way boards of directors react to deep economic crisis is helping organizations to recover from crisis, or on the contrary, this is not really helping them to recover from the crisis. I think we're going to speak about this later. Okay.
Okay, and we do not only want to talk about the impact of decision making in itself, but also to understand a little bit of the process of decision making within boards under a specific crisis situation.
Absolutely, Carmelo, and we will need to go in more detail into the theoretical tenets of the paper.
I agree. I mean, the main theoretical tenets that we're going to use is the old idea of the garbage can model of choice developed by Cohen, March, and Olson, an old piece of 1972. And the idea is to discover whether the description of different decision-making modes that was applied to organized anarchies by March in the early 70s could be applied to boards under crisis now. In fact, our main contention here is that we may think of looking at boards and looking at the way boards make decisions from the same kind of lenses that Cohen, March, and Olson uses in their paper, and see if resolution, flight, and oversight are still applicable to boards' decision making, and to which extent they're applicable. But garbage can is not the only tenet the only theoretical tenet in our paper, I think.
Yes, there's a second piece of theory involved here, which is centralization. So we will also take advantage of the centralization literature, as it is described in literature that the centralization is a predictable reaction under crisis, and it has been largely studied that organizations in crisis or any group in crisis tends to show specific manifestations of centralization. So this is important, and we're going to use the centralization literature in combination with the garbage can, because and we will see later in our main propositions the role of dominant executives and CEOs in the process of centralization, together with centralization and the garbage can.
So based on that, we developed a set of propositions that were covering these main issues. On one side, centralization and CEO dominance, so in a way the CEO role model within the boards. The other groups is the effect of centralization on decision making, and the last one is about decision making options that are basically resonating the old coin marginals and arguments
Yeah.
on the garbage can. So what about the proposition we developed on centralization and
Well,
CEO
in
role?
the first place, in the group of propositions related with crisis centralization and the CEO role, first of all, we need to explore, and we are predicting that the centralization of decision making at the world level is expected to be higher during crisis. And there's theoretical arguments showing this. Uh, the second and the third propositions are related with a crucial role within boards, which is very often necessarily involved in the centralization process, which is the role of the dominant executive or the CEO. And there are two different propositions there. One is related with the role of dominant CEOs, understanding dominant CEOs were those who have certain dominance attributes like tenure, experience, whatever, which are described in, in literature. And we predict that dominant use will use crisis to exert even more power than they currently have. They have in expansive situations. And then probably when there's CEO duality, so the role of the CEO and the chairman is the same person, this will probably accentuate the positive relationship between crisis and centralization of decision making. And then probably dual CEOs will use crisis to take over even more power, or even more decision making power within the board.
Then we hypothesized the possibility of an inverted U-shaped relation between centralization, degrees of centralization and decision effectiveness due to the combination of the role played by decision speed and behavioral responses fit to the environment. These two variables that have been largely discussed and developed in the literature on boards and top management teams. So then the last group of proposition, the one closer to the garbage can theory, with these groups we hypothesized that there is a clearly prevalence of decision making done or decision made by flight and oversight due to the impact of centralization and the use of hierarchy within centralization. The idea is that there is a kind of symbolic alignment that is leading to more flight and oversight than resolution over time. In the case of resolution, we also hypothesized that in order decision making by the resolution at the board level may take longer and may be less effective because of the impact of other two variables, reduced participation dimension and concentration. These two variables that has been studied within board of directors and top management team literature are all intended to explain that there are less time and less availability for making open process of decision. So in this way you are forced not to use decision by resolution because you do not have enough information, enough arguments to build a real resolution kind of decision. So in order to go for a resolution you need more time if you are in a purely centralized decision making setting. So what the propositions are suggesting is, from a more critical viewpoint, that centralization is not providing good resources for effective decision-making process at the board level. This is the main argument we derive from these propositions. Of course, these reflect a kind of critical view of the working of the boards under crisis. That is the one that we are also we have received some confirmation about that from a qualitative analysis that we have run after writing this paper. So the main results, the main contributions to theory and practice are the one that now Alberto please.
Yes.
tell us.
Taking your taking your argument, the paradox and a potentially relevant outcome, both from the theoretical and practitioner standpoints, would be that in reaction to crisis, the reaction of boards of directors or the main governance bodies of the organizations reacted in a way that backfired, accentuated and promoting crisis. And our research so far shows that there are some phenomena related to concentration of power, related to risk aversion, related to slower decision making, which may predict that in fact there's something similar to that happening during this crisis. And this would be something reasonable if in fact a crisis contributes to too much of centralization, as Carmelo mentioned before, and decreases speed of quality and decision making. And this also may have potential managerial and practitioner takeaways and implication for corporate governance in terms of how to frame decision making, and how to frame boards in terms of which are the actors and how to manage the processes of decision making in order to reach a better and faster response of the organization to this complex crisis environment.
And last but not least, I would say, there is a contribution to theory that we hope to achieve with this paper, and is the idea of reshuffling a little bit the old idea of the garbage can of organization and apply it to board of directors, and to discover how under deep crisis, the issue about to which extent decisions are made by resolutions, or to which extent decisions is paralyzed by flight and oversight, is still a key question to address in order to understand also the way organizations are reacting to a current long crisis like the one we are experiencing. And we hope this paper is going to be interesting for you to read.
This is okay. This is the final summary of the contents of our paper, and you can find the paper and hopefully this presentation in the Academy of Management meeting site.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.